was like, yes, I would very much like to do this. And so we did a demo at PAX East, and they needed a fight with the Wyvern up in the canopy of Verdant Brink to feel like really good, and they wanted the gliding to work there. And it was, I mean, honestly, in retrospect, it was okay. There were a lot of improvements since then, but that was where I got my start.
Awesome.
Is working on that little piece, and then from then on, there was a bunch of little other pieces. Kept tweaking it a little. Wasn't the only thing I worked on, but that was.
Yeah, you weren't just sitting in a room by yourself, nothing but gliding.
No. As nice as that would have been, it is a big game. There's a lot of stuff to work on.
Yeah.
But
so
the
now
gliding
we're
was kind of my thing.
Bringing it into Core Tyria
And yeah,
soon.
so when we shipped Hot, there was a fairly large faction of us who was like, well, why don't we have this everywhere? Because it sure would be nice. After you spend a long time in the jungle, and then you come back to the main world, and you jump off a cliff, and you die. And
yes, we did too.
I'm dead. Why?
Why, Joel? Why?
Why, indeed. And the reason we were given, which is completely legitimate, is we just did not have time to make sure. I did not have time at the time to make sure that it was all kosher, that things weren't going to break horribly. QA was really slammed, just testing all the QA, all the hot stuff, and they only have so much time. But once Hot shipped, then we revisited it and went, well, okay, maybe now we can do this. And the answer is yeah, we actually can.
And it's coming. And thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not just me. Like, there are others involved.
You're here to represent.
But I'm representing, so I'll take the credit.
So now, in the meantime, a change that we've done is helped with glider deployment in the game as it is now, because sometimes we were still falling to our deaths.
Yeah,
even though we had a glider.
That's true. But
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it happened.
Did you want to show gliding Core Tyria first, though? I feel like maybe we should show that first.
You know what? I'll tell you. You are the boss of gliding.
Yeah.
If you want to show gliding in Core Tyria first, go for it.
Yeah. So, but we'll get to that. Not to be ignored.
Forget
That's important. So I have a guy sitting in Lion's Arch. If you want to show to the man. All right, here he is. He's my Safari Thief.
Look at Lion's Arch.
I am sitting upon the lobster, the mighty lobster of lobsterness.
We call it that
and
forever.
Normally you'd be here and that'd be quite full. Might not kill you, but perhaps. But it's like, now I'm a thief on the wind. Watch me soar.
That is terrible for a number of reasons.
You're welcome.
I'm sure if I was thanking you.
We are flying. As we do. Flying around. Uh-oh. The camera's being adjusted to point more.
It's not your camera. Move on with your life.
It's very distracting. That's not distracting. And you just say, I'd like to glide off this thing. And now I'd like to glide off these other things. And it all is glidings. So, I mean, it's like...
Thank you for showing us.
There it is.
Okay. Now we have some... Do you want to show some no-fly zones?
Yeah, so there's... This was not like, yes, you can just glide everywhere. It's all fine. There are exceptions. And so first and foremost, PvP's out. Oh, wow, this is fine. PvP's out. That's not happening. Maybe someday in the future.
It's an enormous no-fly zone.
Like
for now.
It's beyond my department. World versus World is out because the World versus World team is weak and fearful. Hi, John.
You know he can reach you, right? All right, so
Not yet he
jumping
can.
puzzles are a thing too.
Well,
that we don't want to like totally ruin.
That's true. Well, so for World vs. World specifically, though, they did actually explore it for a while. They were like, well, can we keep people out of keeps? And the answer was, maybe kind of. And then there was concerns about, well, okay, but like, is this supposed to be an equal opportunity zone for people with and without Hot? And people without Hot don't have gliding yet. Maybe, I don't know. So rather than requiring them to, if you want to like play with the big boys, you need to go by Hot. That's kind of mean.
Right, that's fair.
And so they're like, okay, well, not now. It's like, fine, that's a good argument. So that happened. PvP though, there is one very important exception, which I think people will be excited about. Heart of the Mists.
Oh yeah.
As you are not PvPing in Heart of the Mist, you may glide there.
You can fly around while you're waiting.
You can just. I mean, it's our own little mini game.
I didn't know that until the other day, and I was very excited when I saw it.
It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
You are welcome to try to glide to the other islands. I'm pretty sure there's a tripwire that will just catch you. As in, there is one.
Find out.
But you may try.
You can try the hard way.
We're not here to stop you. All right, and but as far as the open world's open, except for there are.
Except for where it's not.
Except for where it's not. And so I wasn't actually involved in this, but I'll show you guys one. It's over here somewhere. So not on the code side, but design and QA looked at a bunch of different jumping puzzles. Like, okay, well, which ones are most at risk? And some was like, well, I mean, it's okay. Mesmer portals exist. We know they exist. It's not like we pretend they don't. So we're not super worried about massive exploits, but things are just obvious. Yeah, you just fly over to the end thing. So here's one. Just fly up here. It's look at my gliding powers.
That was
very gliding.
a little bit of seasickness right
All
there.
right, so
All right.
over here-ish is the end of Sharkmouth Caverns. They go in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the NPC at the end. And you could, in theory, just glide over to the end spot and then run down to the bottom. And so
do it. I'm sure it'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong?
And so Kira's like, why don't you guys fix that? And so design. Yeah, okay, so you get this message saying you're in a no-fly zone, and then you go, oh, no.
You're going to land one
But it's
way or
fine.
another.
But it's fine. And so most of these things are set up, they're not really there to kill you, they're just there to stop you from exploiting. So I can show you what the box actually looks like. My magic dev powers. There you go.
With your magic dev powers. Yeah.
I have lots of those. As it turns out. You go away. Alright, so you see there's a tripwire above me. Pretend it has a bottom, because it does. And so if you enter this guy, he flips up the message saying, hey, don't do that. You should probably not do that. And if you stay in there, you drop.
It's just your warning.
But it ends right here, and so you can send the deployer glider underneath, you don't die. Or you hit water. So there's a couple of these. And again, I didn't do them, so if people are like, oh, these are the worst things ever, it wasn't me.
But if they love them, then did you do them?
It's unlikely. In that unlikely event, I guess I can take credit. It's not. So I did actually invite the main designer who's involved, and it's like, why don't you come on the show with me? He's like, yeah.
He was like, well, will there be cameras on? Then
no, it's more like, well, then I'm like the villain here, and it's like, yes, that's my plan all along.
Nice.
It's strategy. All right, so
glider deployment.
Yeah, open world, mostly good. Story instances are out. Dungeons are also out, and the reason, partially exploits, but also there are a bunch of these like tripwires and things to set up events to go, and they break really bad. Turns out basically everyone breaks really badly when you glide over them. So
This
it's like
makes me want to try.
so it's just open world. Get up on mountains, go glide off things. It is a lot of fun. You just like, woo. Gliders of Gondor. And Rohan. There's a big Rohan there.
I love it.
It's mixing up my Lord of the Rings puns. It's terrible.
It's okay. You tried, and
it's
that's
shameful.
what's
It's
important.
like, all right. The glider deployment. So people may have noticed last week, it was last week.
Yes.
Last week.
It seems like
it's still last week.
Seems like a long time.
It's
been a while.
What happened was, gliding used to be heavily subject to lag. I'm sorry, players from Australia. I did not really understand your pain until I turned on fake lag. And went, oh, this is the worst thing ever. So put in some changes, which again, these are things that I wanted to ship with Hot because we recognized lag might be an issue. I didn't realize how big of an issue it was going to be. But there were complicating reasons that we couldn't do it like right when we shipped. But definitely we were looking at it and went, okay, now we have the time and resources to actually fix things up. And so deployment authority or control of glider deployment used to all be server-side. And do you want to bring up the magic image?
Can we see the awesome image that Joel made? Because
it's
pretty great.
It is fantastic. So you can see on the left finger there, this is how it used to work. And in a low-lag environment, it's not a big deal. So the way our motion works is the client sends up position reports several times a second, many times a second, to the server saying, here I am, here's my state. And at some point, the client would say, hey, I would like to deploy my glider. And the server would see, oh, you're not gliding yet. You're not able to glide it. You're not falling yet, so no. And the client might try again and say, how about now? He says, oh, now you are falling. Very well. Let's deploy your glider. And then he would have to send a message back to the client. And then the client would say, oh, all right, now I'm gliding. Let me adjust my terminal velocity so I don't fall as fast. And then that'll change how I report my position. That's fine when the lag is low. When the lag gets really mean, like the upper right image, and you have this really long delay. You can see as time goes this way, the client sends the thing, and then the server doesn't get it until way later. And as far as the client's concerned, they send a request, and then a long time later, the server finally gets back to them.
Says, okay.
And so even though the server thinks he responded very quickly, he's saying, yeah, okay, well, I got the request, and say, yeah, okay, go for it. from the client's perspective, it might be like half a second both ways if you're actually bad. And so it's like a full second before your glider comes out. You fall a long ways in a second, and that's no good.
It's true.
And so the alternative approach was, well, what if the client just assumes that it's okay and changes the terminal velocity immediately, and then tells the server, hey server, by the way, I changed my terminal velocity, I'm gliding now. And the server can validate that and say, well, okay, yeah, that seems fine. Or might say, no, that's not fine, but that's unusual. And so even though, yeah. And so eventually the server responds saying, hey, you're gliding, and the client says, yeah, I know. I've known these
I got it, I'm on this.
Now, I included this other client line on there to show like what the delay is for other people seeing you. So the way all simulation works in our game is the other clients have to simulate your motion too. It's not like the server is running full physics simulation on everybody. And so to another client, there still would be a really long delay, but we don't care that much about that. It's not like it's going to kill you. And so the client here might think he's gliding here, but it might take the other guy a full second before he realizes that you're gliding. As was true before, that's okay.
We're allowed.
So yeah, it definitely one of those things where I didn't think I had that much lag on my machine until the change went through, and my goodness, once the update went out, I was like, wow, it's smooth as butter.
Felt a lot better.
It's way
was
better.
Not just free falling quite nearly as much.
Yeah. So hopefully people like that. I certainly did, and
Awesome.
yeah. Anyway, do you have anything else
Thank
you
you
want to cover?
very much.
Yes, there was one small thing. It's not super important, but
You're just making it sound like it's incredibly important.
well, it's not terribly. So some people may have realized you can glide out of jump mushrooms. When the jump mushroom launches you, you can just hold spacebar and it'll drop you at the top. And that is a situation where the client, we've one example of a situation where the client cannot assume that he can glide. And so that has to still, we use the old model where he just asks the server, hey, how about now? And that comes up because that is an important mechanic in a certain boss fight that may or may not be getting updated soon with certain jump pads and things. So perhaps look forward to that. Well, I wonder what that is.
I don't know. I can't imagine. All right. Awesome.
But that's really all I got this time.
Sweet.
It's nothing like really new. Just hopefully some more details, a little more insight into the inner workings of our
yeah, but you tell it better.
really complicated game.
You tell it better. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Guys, hang out just a second. We are going to bring in another guest to start talking about next Tuesday.